Blessed ones. I'm back. AB1 Studio presents Divide. Welcome to the pod. You are now in the Blair. Episode 27 of the In the Blair podcast. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, new subscribers. I am your host, Blair, your cancer care bear, and like the intro say, you are in the vibe. Happy birthday, hip hop. I'm gonna get right into it. This is not a history lesson, but I do want to shout out DJ Kool Herc and Coke LaRock, the founding fathers of hip hop. It all started in the Bronx 48 years ago. And I just wanted to have a moment to appreciate those gentlemen, because I was born in 87 and I don't always do my due diligence, but I do know hip hop was founded in the Bronx in 73, and I did want to acknowledge that. You know, my first introduction to hip hop might have been in the early 90s, you know, still so sheltered and isolated in, you know, my Christian family circle, you know, but, you know, just being like a movie buff, you know, I was able to really get an idea what the culture was about watching movies like Beat Street and House Party. And you know, even then, I still wasn't like really hip hop connoisseur, hip hop fan. You know, I used to love the music. I thought it was pretty cool. You know, when Kid and Play would, you know, they was freestyling, they was doing the dance, the two kick step kicks dance. Something that me and my brother is still trying to learn to do to this day, because it just takes a lot of precision and a lot of practice. So, you know, I just wanted to highlight that factor when I really became a fan. And I think I mentioned this on several episodes of In the Blair podcast. It might have been on my other podcast, but it was really back when I heard Fabulous and Little Mo, Superwoman, and that's when I became like a you know, I started getting a little familiar like in 99, maybe even before that, but that's just what I remember. So at that time I was 12. At that time I knew more. Like I knew the Tupacs, I knew the LLs, you know, I knew the NWAs, but Fabulous was really the rapper who I was like, yo, okay, this is like my first favorite rapper. And, you know, as I started to do my due diligence, it became LL, you know, guys like Cube. And again, like I said, it was just more of the movies. I was more familiar with the movies. You know, Boys in the Hood, House Party, you know, what do I think? Oh, man, what else? Fridays, just it's so many hood classics that's part of the Poetic Justice. You know what I'm saying? You know, Juice, all these hip hop films, Belly, and it was just, you know, I became part of that culture as I got older. Now, at one point, just being a young kid watching these movies. It was violent. I wasn't allowed to really watch them. But I did, and it's just these movies still stand the test of time today. The hood ain't gonna change. The streets ain't gonna change. As the culture continues to shift and is now the number one music genre in the world, it has become pop culture. So, with the elements like MCing, breaking, graffiti, beatboxing, DJing, and I'm not even necessarily 100% sure if beatboxing is considered one of the elements of hip hop. RIP to Biz Markie, who had passed just a few weeks ago. As a fan, as a listener, this is definitely one of these days that, I want to appreciate it, appreciate this day. And as someone who is, constantly, oftentimes right, I consider myself an artist. I don't want to consider myself a hip hop artist, but I do consider myself an artist. I rap. I write raps, I rhyme, I do all that stuff, but it's not necessarily part of, hip hop. But, I do want to share with you some of the influences, that I had growing up. Even me now being 34, you see, hip hop is only 14 years older than me. Yeah, 14 years older than me. And I always try to correlate, hey, there's a generation. So me being born in 87, and like I said, it wasn't until really like the late 90s when I became like big fan. It was, I had influences. Like I said, Kid and Play is always going to be kind of like inevitable, because I'm still like that movie buff. But, I have guys like L, have guys like Cube, because these guys are still like the OGs who are still consistently putting out work, still doing things, and who has transcended what outside of music. And then, guys like Jay and Nas, they're pretty much on everybody's top five, even the OGs, even the pioneers. Those two are still like similar, like on the top five. Tupac, rest in peace. And this is a guy. This man, rest in peace, because he did so much for the culture that is still touching people to this day. And it's been like over 20 years, 25 years, like I mentioned before, I love Biggie. But, I didn't listen to him as much as I listened to Pop, as much as I listened to Nas, as I listened to Jay. I respect his influence. And yes, I do think he's one of the greats. But like I said, he's not one of my favorite, because I'll be fair, I wasn't really listening to him like that. But, I listen to him. But again, it's certain artists, certain rappers that I listen to. There's a lot of rappers, a lot of musicians out there that's, that influenced me, that touched me. And it's just not fair to name everyone. I can't name every single person. So that's why I say even to that, but like I said, I respect Big. Like I said, I think he's one of the greatest, but like I said, he's not, I can't say he's one of my favorites because I don't listen to him enough. That's kind of the same way I feel about Wu-Tang, you know what I'm saying? One of the best hip-hop groups ever. They deep, they mad deep. Mob deep, rest in peace Prodigy. But, like I said, I'm young, 80s baby, hip hop head who didn't really get into it as early as some of some of my friends may have, and because again I was sheltered in a sense, was I was outside, but I was I wasn't really listening to rap like that. I remember MTV Raps. I remember when it was hardly any rap on television. But MTV, that used to be that station. They didn't have Rap City, The Basement, 106 and Park back then. They had MTV Raps. Yo MTV Raps with Dr. Dre and Ed Lover. And movies like Ride. That's another movie. Ride, one of my favorite hip hop movies. With Malik Yoba, Uncle Luke, Fredro Starr and Sticky Fingers of Onyx, had Lady of Rage up there. The list goes on, you know what I'm saying? So many people that I can name. But like I said, it's hip hop's birthday. And I just wanted to celebrate it. This episode is dedicated to the culture. So I will be addressing certain things when it comes to, hip hop. But before I do that, I do want to say thank you all for those who have been listening, who have been subscribing, who has been sharing. It's not much, but those little bit of numbers that I do have, I do appreciate those. I am grateful for those because, again, there's a million people, billions of people doing podcasts, doing music, doing something of the same thing, and just even listening to 5 minutes of me is appreciated. So y'all are not taken for granted. So thank you, listeners, fans, subscribers, anybody. I try to be a little more consistent, but life has really just been eating me up for real. You know what I'm saying? The COVID is still out here. The vaccination is they really pressing people on the vaccination, and I'll leave that for another time. It's just been draining. But, I do want to say something to those who are listening. That Dipset and LOX versus, which happened last week, still being talked about. Man, that was good, man. That was such a crazy verses, man. Like I didn't see the Jadakiss and Fabs verses. There's a lot of them I missed. Like I said, it's so much going on. We can't do everything. You know what I'm saying? But Jadakiss, man, he stole the show. And like I said, Jadakiss is another guy. Top 10. He would say top 5 that alive, but for me, like I said, he's up there. Like he's sometimes he goes on and off my list, top 10 list. I think top 5 is not really fair to to do those lists anymore. Like they got so many dope rappers, so many things that factor in. They have, hip hop is a culture. It's a big culture where you have Christian rap, you have boom bap rap, you have even certain type of music now, like auto-tune, drill, all that stuff, and that's part of hip hop. I don't really care what anyone says. That's part of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Because we got to think about the origin, but things have changed now. Regardless of whether you have guys like Slick Rick, Rakim, Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, Snoop, who was all like making music just to just for the people in their neighborhoods and et cetera, it has transcended. So for whatever reason why and how hip hop became this big entire community entity that it is just it's subgenre. You know what I'm saying? I was in a club and I was in a room just the other night in Clubhouse, and this was a guy, he was talking about how boom bap rap and hip hop is different. And he was trying to make his point, and I respect that point, but I disagree. And I asked, how do we what are we supposed to do? Like, if you have these artists, these boom bap rappers, artists like LL and Jay and you know Cube, who KRS-One and whatnot. How do we tell them that, hey, y'all are not hip hop legends, y'all are boom bap legends? And it's like, he didn't want to really get into it. Like, he ain't trying to make people feel away. So it's like, hey, we can't. We can't do that. Then we have to acknowledge things. Boom bap is part of hip hop as well. Because hip hop is pop now, that doesn't mean that it isn't hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, you have Christian rap, Christian hip hop, who I still feel is part of the culture, because you have guys like Lecrae and have guys like Swoop and have guys like the Truth and all these other guys, KB, NF, who are part of the hip hop culture, but it's a different type of community. See what I'm saying? Like battle rap. Like battle rap is hip hop. That's part of the MCing, and you have to acknowledge that. Or at least I do. So I mean, you can say what you want to say, but like, that's just my stance on it. We can all have our opinion, but I'm gonna stand on that. Like, for me, I don't care if you do music. I don't care if you rap. I don't care if you're a producer. I'm a consumer, and I'm not gonna say the customer's always right. Forget that. But I will say that I have a say so, and to say, hey, I feel like this is this and that's that, because of how it makes me feel, and because I do contribute somewhat to the culture as a listener, as a supporter, as a fan, and even someone who actually do things. I feel like I have that right to say, hey, this is that. Because I know how artists are, abandoned artists, we're sensitive about our shit, as Erykah Badu would say. So it's just a lot. And again, another thing, we have many other platforms now. We have TikTok, which has been a great marketing tool for artists, for rappers. And hey, now it's like, hey, there's no reason. And I think that's the thing that really upsets a lot of the old hip hop heads, hip hop fans, because maybe their generation, of the 80s and early 90s, they're not on the forefront anymore. Like, I don't like it personally how we have a lot of these artists that's kind of like saying, okay, yeah, you got to make a record and stuff, because that's all part of hip hop culture. That's all part of music. I don't like it neither myself, but there are some guys who I do listen to that aren't, I wouldn't say is your typical boom bap artist. I listen to Lil Durk. I listen to God damn, I listen to Kid Cudi, and I listen to Big Sean, and I listen to Kendrick Cole, Drake, and a lot of these guys may be could be considered boom bap too, but just the newer generation. I'm not gonna go as far and say that they're some of the top five of all time, but they can be the top five now. Some of these guys can be the top five now, because time is timeless. And I think we have to take that into account. Me as a fan, I say, it's going to change. It can change every week. But as an artist myself, it's just like, man, everybody has different goals. I just want to be heard. I'd rather be heard than seen. So, I have so much thing that I'm doing not just music, that I can't listen and subscribe to everything. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to acknowledge this because I will be this. And again, this is In the Blood podcast. Is unconditional, unsolicited, un and like just un. My views are my views. Shout out to KRS-One. Shout out to KRS-One. Shout out to Slick Rick. Shout out to Rakim. Shout out to Big Daddy Kane, Kumo D. Shout out to all these guys. Shout out to all these pioneers. I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. They are not on my top 5. I mean, I know a lot of older guys, maybe like in their 40s, maybe even late 30s, they would probably do it because they're in that generation and they're stuck in that generation, and that's fine. But it's the reason why I mentioned this is because I notice how people get so butthurt when we don't put certain guys in our top 5. And that's why I say top 5 sometimes might be too short. Top 10 might be good. Top 10 is good. Having a top 50 and top 20, I don't know. I think it's good to have a top 5, top 10, and top 15. But like I said again, it's a lot, and it's okay for it to change. It's just good to discuss. But like I said, the pioneers, they're not in my top 5. I don't know if they ever were. I mean, LL was, in my top 5. But like I said again, I think the music changed so much, and certain musics don't. It's all moment. Think everything is momentarily. Let me slow it down. Let me slow it down a little bit because I noticed that I'm, talking a little bit fast, but I don't want to go too slow. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I was looking at my XXL magazine that I just bought with the 2021 freshman class, and I realized just how far hip hop came. I'm trying to remember when the first hip hop freshman class came out in XXL, because that's another magazine that was almost like, okay, this was, you had the Source, you had Vibe, and then you had XXL, which kind of became like, to me, that became like, that was my magazine. That was it right there for me. And I'm trying to remember, like, when they first started doing it, what year was it? The year, I'm sitting here trying to look it up because I know as a hip hop fan that's important. Let's find out who the next big artists are. Let's find out, let's find out. Excuse me, sorry. Let me look this up, because I want to say it started with Wale and Kid Cudi. I want to say that's where it started at. And it might have started there. It might have. Man, it's so much. Yeah, I think it started there. I think it started there with Wale, Astaroth, B.O.B., and Charlie Hamilton. I think, man, this is the thing sometimes I hate looking up But my point is this, right? So much has had come. So no. 2007. So far we've come. So far we have come to. It's like we're almost like we're not even at the peak. You know, hip hop isn't even at its peak, and it's 48 years old now. Like it might be the youngest genre, maybe it isn't the youngest genre, but it is the most popular. And you know, when I'm look at this like 2007. Okay, that was what 14 years ago. You had Saigon, Plies, Rich Boy, Gorilla Zoe, Joel Ortiz, Lupe, Lil Boozy, Crooked Eye, Papoose, and Young Dro. Probably about half of these guys are still relevant. Probably a little bit more than half are still making music. And maybe 95% of them, like I don't know if Rich Boy's still making music, but like I said, these guys are still around. And then you have 2009's class: Wale, B.O.B., Charles Hamilton, Addison Roth, Corey Guns, Blue, Mickey Fax, Ace Hood, Currency, and Kid Cudi. And I want to talk about that list. That list might be one of the lists that one in 2010. Maybe matter of fact, no. A lot of these lists, people are still doing it. But 2009, Wale still consistently dropping dope music. B.O.B. still dropping, releasing dope music. Charles Hamilton, I'm not sure. Ashton Roth, I think he's still dropping music. Corey Guns, I think he's still dropping music. Blue, I don't know. Mickey Fax just released. He's consistent with his music, and he just did a diss song towards Royce. Ace Hood still dropping and releasing consecutive dope music. Currency the same. Kid Cudi the same. Now, the whole thing with Mickey Fax and Royce and Lupe, that's what hip hop's been waiting on. Bars versus bars. You know, we have a number of hip hop battles on wax throughout history. You know, we had I don't know, we can look at a beef tape, but like I said, this isn't a history lesson. It's just certain things I want to point out. So Lupe, underrated to me. Probably one of the most underrated. You know, along with Kiss and Fab and all them. But I think, you know, this Lupe, Royce, Mickey Fax back and forth battle. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but this was something I was like, I was waiting on. Like I'm not too all the way familiar with Mickey Fax, but Lupe and Royce I am. This is like a dream. This was like a dream. I want to see more. I don't want nothing to get violent, but you know, bar for bar, I want to see that exchange. Now I think Royce said he wasn't really going to drop anything else, but it's still good to see. You know what I'm saying? But this is the culture. You know, this is part of MCing. You know what I mean? So I do also, like I mentioned again with the XXL freshman classes. Like I said, it's been going on, you know, from 2007 to now. And I think they might have skipped a year, but you have guys that was part of the freshman class from the very beginning still out here. Like I said, Crooked, Lupe, Papoose, Wale, Ace Hood, you know, all these guys. And then you have new artists as it comes, as you can see how if you look at it and you look at the years and notice how look at this music. Like let me look and go to 2016. Little Uzi Vert, Lil Yachty, Kodak Black, Denzel Curry, G Herbo, Dave East, Little Dicky, Anderson .Paak, Designer, 21 Savage. You see the mixture there? The mixture in there, like, you have the new generation now. Like I said, you have the Little Uzis and Little Yachty's, and then you have Dave East and Anderson .Paak. That's a big difference from when you seen, Wale, B.O.B. and Charles Hamilton. I think the only other class outside of that class that was probably the best class is probably the 2011 when they had the Meek, the Big Crit, Sci-Hi, Lil Twist, Yellow with rest in peace Fred the Godson, rest in peace Mac Miller, YG, Lil B, Kendrick and Diggy. Cole was in the 2010 class with Freddie Gibbs and Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace, and Big Sean and Wiz. But aside from that, like I said, I don't want to get too far into the history of hip hop, but artists, the culture's changing, the world is changing. So we have to make room. It doesn't matter who you know. A lot of these artists you might not know, but they have some type of recognition to even be on a magazine. Maybe maybe there's payola, maybe there's somebody have connections, but hey, that's the business. But with it being hip hop's birthday, I can't mention hip hop without mentioning Def Jam. One of the biggest record labels in hip hop. To me, I know now like Atlantic, has some artists, and it's just again coming up from in that era of the 90s. Like I said again, House Party, Boys in the Hood, Ride. There's also other things like, we have Def Comedy Jam. That was a hip hop show, a hip hop comedy show, I would say, with Martin, Chris Rock. Who else that was hosting it? I think DL hosted it, or DL he hosted Comic View. But this is my hip hop. Okay, I don't want to knock anybody's else's generation. Y'all can keep the the 70s and 80s hip hop where it was just strictly beatboxing and ciphering and all that stuff. KRS Ones and Kumo D's. I love those guys for as pioneers. But for me, like I said, I'm that balance beam. My generation, where the 50 Cents, the Fabulous, the Drakes, Waynes, Wale's, all that stuff, that's the balance beam right there. Like I think from 96 to 2010 or 11, that's the balance beam. So for like 15 years, there's that 15-year gap. From 96 to 2011. So that's my area. That's my era right there. That's my area. That's where I came up listening to. And I just want people to know that hip hop is a culture. Hip hop is a community. Hip hop is a religion. Hip hop is a space for any type of subgenre. Not any type of subgenre, but like I said, you have drill, have mumble rap, have dang, what is it, ringtone rapping, you know, where the Soldier Boys era and all that stuff, all that stuff, like. But I just wanted to point that out. I just wanted to say that again. You know, the elements of hip hop comes from MCing, breaking, graffiti, beatboxing, DJing. I mean, yeah, now a lot of there's still DJs out there like DJ slash producers, MC slash singers, rappers, breaking, and you know that can be anything from head spins, spinneroonies, and just doing jumping jacks or something. I don't know. And graffiti is more so just the art. Like I said, house party, full force. Know what I'm saying? So, happy birthday, hip hop. And you know, there's certain things. There's certain albums that are classics. Certain albums that people say are classics but are not. But I'm not to say. But everybody I don't know, like I said, people have their own definition and they say this stands the test of time. I know we have right now the number one artist in the game right now is Drake. And, you know, with Drake, you know, we're waiting for Ye's album. Nas just dropped an album which was phenomenal to me. You know, Lauren dropped some bars. She explained, you know, her lateness. And, you know what? Let me just King Disease 2 was dope. One city, one country, one state. Some place to be nobody. I don't want to get audited, right? But there was something that Lauryn Hill said. And if you heard it, I'm sure you're going to shut up about it now. You know? And she had said, I'm saving souls and y'all complaining about my lateness. Now it's legal for someone to walk in greatness. They want the same shit, but they don't take risks. Now the world will get its own reflection. And I'm just leave it there. Lauryn, even though I feel like shit, like her album, Miss Education, Lauryn Hill definitely had more singing and rapping, but even though she was part of the Fugees, dropped a couple albums, dropped a classic album of her own. To me, she set the bar so high. A lot of people don't even want to take her off the best female MC list. She would be, regardless of whether she's a woman or not, she's one of the greats. But I think because, again, that nostalgia feel, Nicki done sold more records than her. You know, Rhapsody is, you know, like I would say the second coming of Lauryn, but I don't know. I'm not gonna go there on that, but I just feel like there's enough people up here, there's enough people out here making great music to, you know, consider Lauryn and Andre 3000, you know, top 5 or top 10. But again, that's just my opinion. I've been up here for 40 minutes talking about hip hop and what it's done to me, what it's done for me, what it means to me. Hip hop has saved my life. I think there was a time in my life where I didn't know what I was doing. I still sometimes don't. But sometimes hip hop kept me in the house. Hip hop kept me from being out there in the streets. Thank you, Nas. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Kanye. Thank you, 50 Cent. Thank you, L, because there's certain things that we can learn when listening to hip hop. And we have the movies to show us, to teach. I think there's a teachable moment when you watch these movies. Like, everybody want to be up here internet banging. Everybody want to be out here in the streets, be blood, be crip, and doing all this gangster shit and stuff, having a gangster party, West Coast, and all that stuff. But it's like, look at these movies. A lot of these hood movies are written and produced by the artists. Artists who lived it, artists who experienced it. I am okay being in the house watching the movies. I don't have to be out here living that life. Like I said, I was born in a Christian household, but as I became my own man and decided to, venture off and not just listen to Michael Jackson and, listening to R&B. So, like, I never really been, listening to, gospel, but I listen to gospel and Christian hip-hop and stuff. But those stories, like I said, that's what makes it, that's what hip-hop does to me. It tells stories that I can resonate with in a sense of, oh, I seen this happen too. Or, yes, I don't want this to happen. So it's sometimes we have this fantasy that, hey, we want to be down so bad. We gonna watch these movies. Game said it in an album. You think you watch Menace a couple times, press rewind, that you know about this gang life. You got Game, Snoop, YG, like all these former gang members or whatever, bangers or whatnot, and they got out of it. For whatever reason they joined it, whatever reason I understand, but it's like, as a fan, as a consumer, someone who has street smarts but not in the streets can be like, all right, look, I don't want to sit here and do 20 to life or something that could be handled. Like, if somebody step on my shoes, say excuse me. If I step on your shoes, excuse me. There's people out here that literally died, got killed in drive-bys, got beat down, jumped, had a chick set them up. All this stuff happened. I had experienced certain things. Know people that experienced certain things, and then when they listen to this music, they really wanna be down. They really wanna be gangster. And I'm gonna tell you something. This is me, Blair, your cancer care bear. I'm outside. I am outside. But I'm not in the streets. But I'm outside observing, watching, trying to be a father, trying to stand on my own, trying to make a way for my family, for myself. And I done seen some things. Being down, being partying and stuff all the time is cool, but it's like you can't be out here being reckless. Just think about, rest in peace to Nipsey. Nipsey Hussle. Just think about him. Think about someone who was trying to, and who was changing his community, trying to make his state, his home state of California, a better place. Trying to make something out here, trying to make it happen, making it happen. And despite whether he was banging in his past or whatnot, this guy was a rapper who made a better life for himself and his family. and he got gunned down. He got shot down dead. Rest in peace to him. May he forever be. I got a playlist of him. You know, y'all can go to my Apple Music playlist, Neighborhood Nip. But he wasn't doing nothing. So just imagine about the people who do be doing something. Imagine somebody who's out here still slanging, still banging, still just living reckless and doing it because they feel they got to do it. And I'm not here to say that, you know, to judge anyone, but just like if you ain't about that life, you know, you don't try to be about that life, because remember, in the end, you are who you pretend to be, because we are not just who we say and think we are. We are how people perceive us, and part of that is how you conduct yourself. Happy birthday, hip hop. Long live hip hop. At this moment in 2021, my top 5, because like I said, it shifts. My top 5 right now, still, no, I'm gonna put Drake up there. Fight me. Drake, Jay, Nas. I'll put Lupe up there. Fight me. Who gets that number 5 spot? Since they had such a dope album, Cole. Right now at this moment. Maybe Jay ain't drop an album this year. Maybe Lupe ain't drop an album this year. But like I said, they just release stuff and it's always shifting. You know, I can go on and on. And we need to give Fat Joe his flowers, because I think people don't really recognize his beat selection. You know, he made, like, Rick Ross probably got a dope beat pit, like one of my favorite beat selectors in the game. But Fat Joe, he needs his flowers too. R.I.P. Big Pun. You know, like I said, put respect on my boy Ace Hood name. You know, this dude, he's been consistent, and I guess because he's not, you know, he's no longer, you know, well, he's still mainstream, but he's not on the forefront like the Coles and the Drakes and stuff, you know, people sleep on. Shout out to Ace Hood. You know, he needs his flowers. You know? Shout out to Swiss and Timberland. You know, they doing it for the culture right now with the verses. You know, they bringing some dope battles together. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Smack, doing it for the battle rap community on Caffeine. You know, shout out to Nicki Minaj. Shout out to Eve and Trina. They just did one recently. You know, to see people forget that, you know, we have some female MCs out here that's killing it. And whether y'all want to call Trina MC or not, she's been consistent. Eve been you know, on low, but you know, she got some records. Queen Latifah out here doing, another rapper turned actress, also singer. She's not, like, I love Queen Latifah. You know, but like I said, I can name so many other artists, man. Shout out to NF. Shout out to John Keith. Shout out to D1. You know, I was just at a show 2 months ago, I think, when I was leaving my training for HVAC school. I got kicked off for failing, and my brother was picking me up, and he, you know, I was blessed enough that he allowed me to go to the show. That was kind of like not my first concert, but that was a big concert for the Christian hip hop community. And you know, we had to try to not separate those, man, because they're still part of hip hop. But I understand, you know, people want to have, you know, they have their taste. But yeah, man, John Keith, D1, Swoop, No Big Deal, The Truth, Jared Sanders. There was, like, you know, there's so many, a lot of artists in that domination, in Richmond, Virginia, which next year I'm hoping to make it to that one as well. So shout out to Corey Goss. But yeah, I want to. Man, I can go all day when it comes to this. I can talk all day. I can debate all day. But I think, is there anything else? I gave y'all my top 5. I sent my respects to the pioneers. Discussed the 5 elements. I don't know, because this was kind of like a last minute. I realized that, okay, today was the birthday. I didn't drop a podcast in a while. I need to put myself back out there. I want to try to get back to having an episode a week. It gets hard sometimes, but that's part of the brand, so. But yeah, man, like we need to allow ourselves to venture off and to listen to different things. Hip hop's #1 in the world. Someone's always like, we're like, I don't want to say we're the youngest, but we have done so much. You can't listen, you can't watch hardly no movie, no show, without at least hearing an artist from the culture on it. We're no longer on BET, just BET. We're no longer just on MTV. All the music channels and all that stuff. We're past that now. So we have to be able to make space to accept new things. Me as a fan, me as an artist, writer, I just want to see the culture grow even more. I don't mind if we make different sub genres in hip hop, but I do want more unity. We may have enough unity. Well, we may have not enough unity, but we need to have a balance, because again, I'm gonna keep it a stack. Sometimes that battle element is good for the culture. It kind of helps people step their pen game up. It motivates people to kind of get better, not because it's like, hey, we about to square off and do something, but this is what it is. This is what it's about. It is about that culture. It's about that life. It's about elevating. So, that's all I have. And, like I said, Nas, man, his album dope. King Disease too. I know everybody's like saying Jay-Z's the greatest, yeah, but to me, this is my thing. Maybe without Nas, Jay wouldn't be as great. Because Jay was already great before they was doing that back and forth, and even though a lot of people believe that Ether beat Takeover, I think they're kind of like the yin and the yang of the game. They cool now, but I think, we need Jay and we need Nas. Both of them conscious guys, but I think Jay is he's more of the, like, I ain't gonna say materialistic, but Nas has, it's different things that he raps about. To me, from what I hear. So I just really feel I really want to play this song, but I really don't know what that will do for the episode, because I do not own the rights to any of this music. But again, Blessed ones, that is all I have. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, subscribe. I am on all streaming platforms: SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I always get that wrong. My last episode 26, was on exclusively on SoundCloud because I did it from my phone. But again, share this, tell your friend, tell a friend. Even if you don't subscribe, even if you don't like it, just share it, because again, you could be taken away from somebody you might know who might be interested. So blessed ones, like I say all the time, stay safe, stay positive, productive, and prosperous. This is Blair, your Cancer Care Bear, and I'm out. One.